again. Today, or this time, we shift to what are called affective disorders, feeling disorders. It's on the bottom of two. It's under number three there. And we're going to talk about depression and bipolar. These are things you're probably fairly common with. You probably have some experience with someone you know, if not experiencing this, at least having some tendencies, which can be very troubling, honestly. Now, with depression, we're going to do this first. There are three types. There's what's called normal depression. I'll give you notes for this. There's what's called moderate depression, and then major. And major is the one that typically needs treatment, where the person just sort of doesn't really function much, or if they do, it's at a very low level. And I'm going to give you the symptoms and the sort of causes and so on. And then we'll get into bipolar, which is another thing. So anyway, here we go. First of all, with our notes. I'll just hold this up so we can post, or you can take this down and pause what you need to do. Okay, forget about the bipolar now. Just write down the depression part. Okay. So with normal depression, now we all have this. This is grief. This is after a loss of a loved one. The blues. I got the blues. You never know. Sometimes where it comes from, you just have that funk. And then, it could be weather related. You've heard of SAD, perhaps seasonal affective disorder, something like that. You could get this from moving away from home, from college. Think about people right now who maybe they graduated from college, last year, and they just moved out, and they're trapped sort of in a city where they're working, and they can't really get home very easily, and everybody else is home because of the quarantine. That could be a problem, and you see some examples of that, people posting that kind of thing. And then breakups, bad breakups especially, or dramatic breakups. You're cheating on me with my brother kind of thing, or whatever, can cause that. But we get over these things because usually situations get better, and so on and so forth. We move then on to moderate, which is what, with people with depression, most of them are going to have this. So you've got this list. And this is not all the symptoms, but some of the major ones, where you have a lower feeling of self-worth. Just, what am I doing? And lowered appetite. You don't feel like eating. You can't sleep. You don't have any sex drive, or very low sex drive. You feel guilt about not being able to do those things. I can't get up and make the kids dinner. I can't, feel affectionate, and so on and so forth. And you feel guilt about it, which tends to drive it more. I feel fatigued all the time. This, the classic no makeup, living in sweats. Think about right now, a lot of you probably aren't dressing nearly like you would otherwise. Not that you're depressed, but sometimes, in theory, that's how that would be. A lack of concentration. They wouldn't listen to people talking. They would try to read. They try to watch TV. They just would lose interest. There's nothing. What's the point of any of it? Motor retardation, the idea that their movements are slowed, or sort of, you kind of, let me get that in your hands, that looks creepy. Or you're stumbling and things like that. So all of those together make up moderate depression, which, sometimes needs treated, sometimes you just kind of get over it to a degree. You can kind of function at work and as a wife or a husband, but it's not nearly where you could be. And then we move over to major, and that's where you tend to need treatment, and basically take all those symptoms and make them worse. And that is where you get into people that really, really need help, and they need medication just to even get up to a moderate level, let alone up to living like a normal situation kind of thing. So there's depression. Again, if you have questions, there it is. And then we move on to bipolar, which is used to be called manic depressive, but now they just call it bipolar disorder, where you have two things. You have major depression, which we just talked about, and you also accompany that with what is called major mania. And mania has these characteristics where you've got this rapid speech patterns, and people just hey, how you doing? Hey, this is great. Let's do this. Let's do this and this and this and this and this. Heightened energy, almost maniacal, hence the word mania. This could be cleaning all night or planning for a party and just going crazy planning for the party. Agitated, and I don't mean necessarily negative, but just easily distracted. And what's that? No. It's got to go right. It's got to go right. It's got to go right. That kind of thing. Restlessness, a lot of times fidgeting with the hands, feet, the moving and or pacing and things like that. And what is called a flight of ideas, where they're shifting gears all the time. Hey, we could do this. Let's clean this house. Yeah, let's do this. And they start cleaning. Well, you know what else we do? Let's go to the movies. I want to go to the movies. I haven't been in the movies for a long time. And gosh, imagine what someone like that would go through right now with this whole thing. And then they lapse back into depression. And a lot of times there's no real cause. It just sort of happens, like a switch, which is very difficult to live with someone like this, is obvious. And as you also might guess, that depression is more common than the mania parts, because the mania, well, you can't keep that up. Wear out, for sure. But medication is taken to sort of even these out a bit. So picture, a roller coaster that doing this as opposed to that kind of thing all the time. So there you go. Affective disorders, real quick. Any questions? Just let me know.